DBBR101 Expert coming soon. Take on the ultimate challenge and step into a new level of simulation with an unparalleled, in-depth recreation of the DBBR101 locomotive, coming 8th August courtesy of TSG. The locomotive, DBBR101. Regular players of German train sim world content may already be familiar with the DBBR101 locomotive, which released as an add-on in 2021 for the Hauptstreckenrennrad and has been layer/substituted into many German route add-ons since then. These large, powerful electric locomotives arrived on the German network in the late 1990s to replace older express passenger locomotives like the DBBR103. Its unique design is well known across the country, hauling intercity services between many of Germany's major cities and destinations. An add-on for true train sim world experts. For this release, TSG team have dialed up realism and accuracy to the maximum along with the challenge of operating this locomotive in very fine detail. The cab comes in two variants, MFD and MFA, and features fully operational interactive screens to control and alter a myriad of options and settings for different aspects of operation. All of the screens and subscreens display information as they would in reality. Additional tasks that the player can undertake go well beyond those available in a standard train sim world locomotive. These include 1. An extensive fault simulation, with fault clearing required in order to keep the train moving. 2. Realistic door operation with TB0 and SSDF door control systems. 3. Real train data input PZB/LZB data entry. 4. GSM-R simulation, down to individual cell towers. 5. A machine room engine room modeled which players can enter. The machine room includes all breakers and valves that players can interact with and is important for both startup procedures and fault finding, so you may find yourself spending quite a bit of time here preparing and maintaining the locomotive in operation. Fault finding. The fault finding aspect to this release is unique among train sim world content. Quite often, faults are included in pre-prepared scenarios, where players are required to act around them, using a set of instructions in-game. A series of scenarios and tutorials will be able to guide the player through the fault-finding process, which includes having to read and use the interactive fault-finding screens that correctly display the faulty component. This can range from traction motors failing to PCB failures or even a cascade of failures if certain systems start to blow out others. A manual will also be provided to assist players with this process, and certain elements will require reading before embarking on services. LZB/PZB input. Developer and member of the TSG team Lucas explained this feature in our June roadmap. This feature requires entering max speed and brake rate values to simulate PZB/LZB on a higher level. The brake rate is calculated through the train's maximum weight and describes its braking performance in the current configuration, considering current available systems. The ZB panel then sets the PZB mode from these values. There is no switch as in the previous BR101. The result of all of these additional features and complexities is that this locomotive will be an exciting but rigorous challenge even for those who are very experienced with train sim world content and German locomotives currently in the game. This idea of an expert loco may be familiar to those who participated in our TSW player survey earlier this year. Currently, we don't have any others planned, but we're excited to hear your thoughts and feedback, so please let us know if this is something you'd like to see more of. Locomotive improvements. In addition to the work done to make the locomotive super realistic to operate, many other improvements have been made over the initial BR101 release. These include 1. Sound improvements, utilizing new sound recordings and upgrading older capture. 2. Newly refined physics. The DBBR101 Expert comes in two liveries for this release. For players wanting a more casual driving experience, an accessible driving mode will be available in the main menu setting, which reverts functionality to a level typical of other train sim world locomotives and enables players to experience the improvements made to this locomotive without hitting the higher difficulty level. Players that just want to experience the IC Steuerwagen can also use this feature. The original DBBR101 local add-on will remain on sale but requires the Hauptstreckenrennrad route add-on in order to operate. Also included IC Steuerwagen/cab car. Included in this release is the much requested and eagerly awaited IC Steuerwagen Bpmmbdzf 286.1 cab car and updated Bpmmz and Avmmz coaches. Cab cars are commonplace on passenger trains throughout Europe, with the earliest designs even dating back to the late 1800s. The concept was primarily used on regional or urban traffic, where top speeds were 140 km/h and quick turnaround times for trains were a necessity. It wasn't until the 1990s that cab cars were trialed for higher speed, long-distance traffic, tested up to 14 cars and speeds up to 200 km/h, if successful, would allow for much greater flexibility of intercity services throughout Germany. The tests were promising enough that several batches of existing, but relatively new coaches were converted to have a cab retrofitted onto one end and ballast added to increase their weight. With their cab equipment reflecting the controls indicative of locomotives at the time, cab cars would allow for IC trains to dwell for less time at major terminals, the only notable difference from a driver's POV being the distinct lack of engine room ambience behind them. In game, the IC cab car can be operated in as much detail as the DB-BR101, with the option for a more accessible mode which defaults the settings to a correct setup and turns off the safety systems. The throttle of the cab car is similar in style to that of the BR111, in that it has a run-down, hold, run-up segment, and also a manual control segment. Timetable layering, substitution, and scenarios. On release, the DB-BR101 Expert will have copied timetable services on Nahverkehr Dresden and Bahnstrecke Salzburg, Rosenheim route add-ons. The latter will also have 3 scenarios available to play. Of course, players will also be able to utilize the locomotive on any Germany route add-on and free roam, and neither of the above routes are a requirement to do this. Train Sim World registered for Expert DB-BR101 and IC Steuerwagen Loco add-on will be available from 8th August on Xbox One, Xbox Series XS, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Epic Game Store, and Steam for Euros 35.99/pound 29.99/$39.99. Preview stream July 31st plus special guests. Join Lucas, Jan, and the special guests, a real-world locomotive driver on both YouTube and Twitch for a preview of the DB-BR101 Expert tomorrow, Wednesday 31st July at 6:00 p.m. UTC.